Like I claim that they're too much work, and that's why I don't do them. Hey, look at that! Welcome back. We're live. I think we're live on YouTube. We're live on YouTube. Good to have you guys back. We're on the pit. I'm gonna set my YouTube page so I can see the chat. Welcome back, and we got Gunny now. So this is basically like a Delta
What's
5
up, boys?
pit mashup.
Yeah, for real.
Yep, I'm happy to be here.
2 of the new offering. So I'm saying hi in the pit. We've got David in the pit. We got Smeety Boot. We got Bart, Hxro, Gear. Welcome, guys. Good to have you. This is the show where we talk shit about the markets. You know, we're going to share some analysis. We're going to talk strategies. See what's on Gunny's mind. I haven't talked to him in a couple days. And yeah, there's a lot going on in like the legal area. And then, you know, Senator Warren came out today like, re-elect me. I'm building an anti-crypto army. Like, oh. I just don't know why that's even a platform. But maybe we should be excited about that because
somebody in her PR team told her that like I'm building a whatever, I'm putting a team together meme was going to make her sound cool.
That's it, right? It's all just like trying to earn points on metrics based on voter questionnaires and bullshit. But like, let's just accept, or we got to acknowledge how significant it is that a U.S. senator is running on a platform that has anything to do with crypto.
Yeah,
we've come a long way. I mean, and it really is this kind of cliche, like first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you. I mean, it's happening. It's happening. And
yeah.
It's kind of crazy to see from the 2017 perspective.
It's like God tier level Wojak Coke, you know?
Yeah. That is, I guess
really
I'm coping,
is.
but like they really are.
No, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about her. You know, it's like,
well, the weirdest part is she's as anti-bank as us. She's she's
maybe.
like, fuck the banks. And crypto.
She cannot be on sides.
Yeah.
She can't.
She's just a hater. She's
just literally a crusty, angry person.
She ran on
anti-tech, anti-bank
for a long time, right? Like,
do you guys remember during the Obama administration when she was his like financial taskmaster and was going after like credit card companies and high interest rates, and she was like a champion of the people, and then when she ran for president and she tried to seem folksy by drinking a beer in her kitchen, I was like, it's over. This is never going to be good again.
Yeah, that was a turning point.
Well, I think when she, if I remember correctly, she tried to say that she was like 1/128th.
Yeah.
My Meemaw taught me that we were 1/100th Chippewa.
What did Trump went in at a 90-degree angle with sharp spears at that one.
Yeah.
And just to be clear for our aisle left and aisle right folks, we're not sitting here going left and right. It's really just about like Warren's new campaign, and anything that's anti-crypto really sucks because you should be anti-scammer, you could be anti-fraudster, you could be anti-rug puller, anti-hacker.
Yeah.
By the way, how many
anti-bad actors, but anti-good tech? Fuck off.
How many she could be rechanneling that energy towards such positive things like usury in credit card businesses, like payday loans, things like that ruin that keep people who are in lower income, like in a lower income class, keep them there.
Yeah.
She can be doing things to help kind of move things towards the middle there, which is something that also crypto, like its ability to be agnostic to the human and the individual, should, you know, it's kind of one of the ideals of all of this. And why can't
I hear it's interesting. There's some stats coming out and I don't have them and whatever, but like this talk of like, well, actually, the data shows that marginalized communities are the ones who are most suffering from crypto. I don't have those stats. I imagine there's some truth to it in the sense that there's people that are trying to make it and they come in and they don't look at the fine print and they don't manage risk and they get hurt. And that there's some truth to that, but the systems like getting paid 7% interest and paying 8% interest, like, much tighter margins. I mean, imagine going to your bank and you get 1 to 2% interest at best on your savings. Yeah. And then when you go and borrow, you're spending 8 on a mortgage or 25 on a credit card. Like, that's a margin that just never made sense to me. And the fact that it's so easily accepted by the entire world is just absurd. And that alone is kind of like the place where I look at all this and I say, we could fix that. borrowers will offer you for less, and lenders, like we can do better. So in that case, when we get through the rug pulls, when we get through the networks offline, when we get through the bullshit and maybe some of this political red tape, I think there's a really bright future on the other side for people who need access to cheap funds for their business, whatever else. Like, I am optimistic.
Yeah.
But I'm not bullish on the United States right now. And frankly, I'm not too bullish on Canada either. We just kind of copy all of your guys' worst policies.
Yeah. Canada was wilding last year.
We were. And
wilding out, dude.
yeah, it's really strange. It's really strange. And I'm not like anti-Canada. I'm pretty happy here. I like it. I think I feel safe here. My kids go to school. There's not a lot of that crazy bullshit going on. But like,
talk
I'm
about
I'm
not
a
being
big fan of
bullish
policy.
on talk about not being bullish on US right now. It's a pretty hot time to not be bullish on the US dollar.
Yeah, let's transition to that. The Saudis are moving in with China and Russia. Not something I can speak to. Maybe Gunny and some of you guys have some insights. Euro.
Yeah, I mean, I really have just been lightly reading up on it, and most of these countries are just now deciding to transact in their native currencies instead of the dollar for all of their kind of energy import and exporting.
Yeah.
So,
but go ahead.
No.
I used to see, without even thinking about it, sort of buy the whole like China is a competitor to the US narrative. And then I read this book called The Next 100 Years. And it made this really compelling argument that like it's ridiculous to think that China is anywhere close to being a competitor to the United States, mainly along the lines of like, and this is kind of out of scope, but like naval capacity. Like the US's Navy keeps them like firmly, in control in a lot of ways. But yeah, like the more that I've thought about that and looked into, the currency wars and all that, it does seem like it's early term panic to say that the US's like hegemony is like at risk or whatever.
Agreed. And so I think a lot of the stuff that I've recently been reading is that China is still heavily dependent on importing energy. Like US is still completely self-sufficient if need be.
Yeah, that was another one where they were like, oh, we're doing all these wars for foreign oil, and when you look into it, it's like we export we export far more oil than we import, and we have plenty of oil for our own needs.
It's at such a massive scale, I think, relative to the rest of the world. Kind of like the United States military. Like, have you ever seen those YouTube or TikToks where they're like, they compare the military of like every country, and then it's like 5-10 minutes long, and then it goes to the end, and then like the US is like the Mount Everest of like the Navy. I was thinking yesterday, when the euro first started, which I'm again boomering myself, knowing that I was there when that happened. Like when that started and it became strong to the dollar, there was a lot of discussion and there's a lot of headlines around the 500 euro bill being like the new $100 bill in the oil trade, and like that put the scare of Jesus into dollar holders for a long time. And then at some point in time, like maybe it was the second Gulf War, maybe it was something that remarkably kind of showed up, where the US was able to kind of flex its position in the Middle East and flex its global oil position, and things kind of went back to normal. Now, I think that the world has changed quite a bit since then, and it's changing exponentially faster. So maybe this is the beginning of a change, and like, is it the loss of like the hegemony of the United States? I maybe we've been on that trend for 10-15 years now, and the next few decades are gonna prove that it's time. I don't know.
I saw an interesting chart. I'm going to see if I can find it. So don't switch over yet. But I think it was Balaji shared something just showing like the dominant currency in the world over a period of 500 years. I think it was him. It might have been someone else. I'm just gonna see if I can find it, but it was interesting, and it's just kind of a stark reminder that we think in like 20-year, 50-year like lifetimes, but you look at history and like nothing lasts forever. Empires fall. Dollar dominance is doomed to fail at some point to some other thing. Like, it's just everything's kind of an impermanent. So I don't know if I can find the chart, but it was really interesting.
It just takes a long time. Like if the argument is that the United States hegemony is on the down slope or has peaked, like sure, maybe, but it could just like you said, it could take 50 years to play.
It won't take 90 days. I think we can all agree on that.
No, that's for sure.
Yeah. So that bet was just a marketing plan. I think it was a pretty good one. It's too bad that I can't find that chart because it was really interesting. But it basically was going back to like the Dutch franc and whatever fucking currency it was over the years, and then the British Empire, obviously, in the pound, and then the U.S. is basically in our lifetimes, in our parents' lifetimes, in my case, anyways, been basically the dominant thing. So you almost can't see a world a different way. But I think it's safe to say that weaponizing the dollar through SWIFT against Russia was probably not a great idea.
No,
because it didn't work.
Agreed.
And now every other country is like, oh shit, like they're going to rug pull us if we ever disagree with them, which has kind of been the threat that they've given about things like war on drugs. Harry Anslinger back in the 40s, basically post-prohibition, he was like, we need to prohibition something else so I can have a job. And they went around to like opium dens in East Asia and were like, you have to make this illegal. And they were like, no. And they're like, okay, rug pull. And now everything's illegal everywhere.
They're just like, it just feels like we've lost the plot in a big, well, the United States has in a big way. Like it just, and to the point where the leadership is still relying on this kind of old guard mentality of we're the US, we're always going to be the strongest. Nobody's going to want to fight with us. And then you run into Putin and Xi, and like, then what?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's surprising.
It's not Muammar Gaddafi. This is like, these are superpowers. These aren't like, small but extremely wealthy third world countries. So,
largest
interesting times.
Economies in the world after the U.S., I guess, right? So, I don't think it's a surprise to anyone, even myself, who's not really up on global politics and all that shit. But I saw it right away. I was like, oh, China's not taking U.S.'s side against Russia. There's no way. They're going to use this to have Russia come to them, build strength. I don't know. Setting up my life here in Canada, pretty close to you guys. I don't feel great about the next 50 years, but for now, life is pretty good here. Let's be honest. As much as we can, ramble and rant about where things might be headed in the broader, like high time frames, the quality of life that is available in the U.S. and Canada is still pretty fucking good.
Have you ever read any Steven Pinker?
Never heard of him.
Okay, so he's a social psychologist, I believe, or a data scientist in a lot of ways, and he wrote a book that made the argument that like everything is better than it ever has been on every metric you can measure, and people's satisfaction with that is, relatively is at the lowest. And as we ascend out of global poverty and hunger, people become more dissatisfied. And it makes me think that the troughs of being an empire are not as bad as they were when America rose to prominence. So like if we lose, global hegemony, like, will it be that bad? I don't think so. Like, I think generally, and people really hate this argument because they're like, the murder rate being down is of no comfort to the murdered. But, but like, it is the case that like things are kind of getting better everywhere due to technology, of which blockchain is one. I'll rope it back around, but like I just
back on track here, boys.
I'm not too concerned. I'm not shaking in my boots about what it's going to be like to live in America in 50 years because I imagine it's going to continue to be pretty sweet.
Let's hope so. I mean, there's a lot. It's very easier to slip into doomerism these days with access to information, with big scary headlines. Like,
Yeah.
lots of algos driving home fear. It's hard to get away from. I don't watch the news anymore. Every time I turn it on, it's like, let's see who's died today. And like I turn it on, and within minutes, it's just like,
You know what?
house burned down with 20 people inside. I'm like, fuck, dude, I didn't even know that.
For me, having kids really changed my attitude. I used to before I even got married, like I was a single guy, I was a trader. I was just, how much money can I try to make every day? And, how much fun can I have spending it? And like, once I got married and I had kids, like kids really change your perspective on it. And it's like the fact that you could not want to think about if you have children or if you're in a position that will affect the next generation of people coming up in the country and just in the world in general. Like, how do you not think about wanting to leave a legacy? Not wanting to be the one that like fucked it all up.
Well, on that scale, but also just like for me right now, kind of, getting a house, having babies, like, it's like, where do I want to set my flag? Where do I want to set up my life? Where do I want to have them grow up? And,
Decentraland.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, kids, we're going out for lunch in Decentraland. Get in the car. But like,
Daddy, we haven't eaten.
That certainly changed my perspective. Yeah, and doomerism shit scares me more now because I think of these post-apocalyptic kind of vibe lifestyles, and I'm like, damn, I don't want to have 3 babies in tow. Like you get this idea in your head, like, I'll just be solo commando, but trying to drag some kids through all that is a scary thought. So I'm just kind of riding the optimism train right now, like trying to be aware of some of the risks in the world, but not getting lost in doomerism because the vast majority of people, I think, that do that or spend that kind of energy, like they're not changing anything. It's like,
for sure,
going back to like, when you worry, you make it double. So there's no point unless I'm
that way. I'm very optimistic kind of always. And it's like, dude, I'm from the streets and to the streets I can return. They're not even that bad now. Like they'll give you free money. Like it's all
just go to San Francisco and bring a tent.
Yeah, dude.
They do airdrops for the homeless, huh?
Paid camping out there. Okay, let's get on topic. Oh, my mic not working?
Here, I'll bring it full. I'll bring it all the way around. I think the best way to think about this is just a game of attrition. Like the snowball's been pushed down the hill. Elizabeth Warren, Biden administration, Gensler, everybody can do what they want. And everyone's going to suffer a little bit now. But the generation that is coming up, eventually, like this is a war of attrition. And eventually these boomer/doomers are going to die, or they're going to leave office, and then they're not going to care. Like their job as politicians, you guys have heard me say this before, is to get reelected. Mm-hmm. And they're trying to appeal to the largest population of people that they can. And they're going to sell as much fear as they can. And they're going to do whatever they can to get reelected. The second they're done, they're not going to give a shit.
Someone from Google came out and said that immortality may be possible by 2030. So maybe they don't die. That's my one worry.
That would be the absolute.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that would be so bad.
I don't know if I want to be a part of that world, to be honest.
No, I'm for it, dude. Not. Yeah, I want to become a robot ASAP.
We don't need Biden's and Trump's staying around another 100 years, man.
Yeah, that's a tall order, dude. 2030.
I am so sorry to everybody's
decentralized networks where the world everybody can commit their value to it and earn from it.
It can 3-3.
And they can 3-3,
dude. Let's VE 3-3.
VE 3-3.
Yep.
Shout out
3-3 cubed.
Ears in the audience. I apologize. The mic issue was that every time I sign into this thing, I have to select my mic. I actually had it on the webcam mic, but at least we caught it 25 minutes in the show, not 40. Okay, let's get over to the charts. Let's talk a little bit about the markets. I like the opening there. That was a little bit.
Some good macro stuff.
A little bit of macro stuff. Some just some guys hanging out. First off, let's start with the equities since we're clearly a macro town. This chart looks good. This chart does look good. That's the end of it. There's our analysis on the macro.
I'm long coin and I'm long MicroStrategy right now.
There you go. So you're long Bitcoin. But I tweeted something to the effect of like, how obvious will it look in hindsight, on a scale of 1 to 10, like when this kind of volume off of this retest of this very like classic just meme trend line, right off this like my little zone, my 382, like how obvious will it look in retrospect if that marks the bottom? I think I even said when that marks the bottom. So my 2 cents is the bottom's in, but I think this is just going to look really obvious if it does come in as the low, the higher low, as it were. We're already technically trending up on the weekly. We're just haven't resolved this trend line until now. So I'm not too worried about the stock market. I am focused on Bitcoin. Let's go look at Bitcoin, which is plummeting today. But
You picked the perfect time, dude.
I don't want to talk about it. Streams always nuke,
Yeah.
or moon. But we've got this little range. We had the highest daily close on Bitcoin we had all year last night, and then we had this insane move, like absolutely nutso move last night, just blasting all the liquidity, taking out all the stops right here, up here. And I happened to be watching it live almost by accident. I had just come up to bed and I was like, I'm just going to go to the office and shut down for the night. Love, see you in a sec. And then it was like this, and I just heard the ringing start, and I was like, oh, damn. So I watched this. As you guys know, if you're in the pit, Circa knows, I explained it all to him. I fucked up my attempt at a head short here. Basically got nuked once and then the bad entry, and then decided to close it and regret my life choices. But, swept some liquidity right after, like absolutely savage dump right down, sweeping down here, and then back above range highs and chilling, and then dropped in today. So it does not look great. And my invalidation on pretty much the majority of my long exposure in the market is like very quickly approaching here at 27,999. So my fun long was a really great trade this week. I'm not going to allow myself to be sad if I get finished off here, which it almost looks certain I will. But managed to do the thing. I always look for these higher lows. That was another good trade in this case, but I didn't trade that one. I traded this sweep of lows. Close some here, close some here, close some here, and then the rest got stopped here. So it was a good week, and I think we may just need to let it cool off. And I guess the question is, and I'm going to hand this to you guys, what are the odds that as Bitcoin drops back in this range and finds its footing, we just see like some altcoin catching up, some rips and dips?
Yeah,
I think it'd be crazy.
I'm definitely playing for an eventual altcoin season for the next 2-3 weeks. I'm not sure if that happens when BTC gets back into this range, or I'm not sure if BTC really needs to hit that 30K mark. I don't really care. I just think it's going to happen. I think BTC is going to steal some dominance, and I'm pretty sure it's right. We're right at a kind of critical level of resistance, I think, for Bitcoin dominance.
Yeah, we
so
are.
I'm kind of just watching that.
Let me find it. I
Yeah.
got it here. Yeah, we've been in this consolidation range for basically May 2021. So like 2 years. We're at the high end of it, and it wouldn't be weird even in a larger bull trend to like see this come back, ride this EMA up. And so the question is like, how much juice can you get here? Because I think Bitcoin showed some strength yesterday, and now if it just chills out, it's like permission for those Bitcoin altcoin pairs to like come roaring back.
I mean, it's kind of been the case all along, right? Like, how much you kind of like pick the gems out of the altcoin world, or things that are like deriving yield or have new good concepts or things like that. That they end up dislodging from market, from the market as a whole for the most part. And I feel like those actually get more of the juice than anything. Like there's liquidity relative.
Oh my God.
So
Bye. Why does it always happen on stream?
Oh, that rocks.
It's like sit at the battle station for 6 hours, go to work for an hour, and then the move. Every day. Mark it on your calendars, guys. 1 and 2 p.m.
Let's go.
You will see volatility if we are live.
Yeah.
Just have it there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So my relong just got nuked, but it's a great way to stay in shape.
Yeah. But how big was that drop?
Or it's about to be a lot bigger, I think.
Yeah, I think we just lost our lunch here for a little bit, which
Yeah.
is unfortunate. Let's go zoom out.
Is that liquidity vacuum or headline or what?
No, it's just
yeah,
it's
we're
just
back.
losing the range lows with all that. There's been nothing but green delta up here somehow.
Yeah.
So it's like, of course that's gonna puke, you know.
Do you want to show us? Do you want to do a screen share and show us your tits? Like I'd love to see your I'd love to see your battle station.
I'm
Like,
sure
what
everybody
do
here
you-
would rather see tits.
Yeah,
like show
Um,
us your battle station. When you talk about Delta, one thing I wanted to ask you about today was like
The long-term CBD.
yeah, like, well, when you say spots leading, perps are leading, I feel
Yeah.
like that's some good info, and I don't really know how to analyze that. Could you maybe like,
100%, friend. Here, let me
maybe our
share.
producer could hook you up with a slot and all unscreen share, or you could just make
Is
a.
that possible?
I mean, I may have to stop screen share. I'll let him set up a new shot with you, and then. Okay, I see what's going on here. I'll stop screen share.
This shit is savage, dude.
Yeah, it's one of those days like, oh, I had the short hedge idea so well in my brain and misdid it, and now like they always come so much easier, right? Like my long made me sweat for like 3 days down there. Well, felt like 3 days. It was like 40 hours. But then, and then it works out. But when you get into those shorts, ooh baby, they pay off pretty quick. Staircase up, elevator down.
Share screen and camera.
Up like
All
a
right,
bird.
cool.
Shit like an elephant.
Yeah,
I'm screen sharing.
Oh, there you go.
Rock.
I don't know what shot is live.
Beam me up, coach.
There we go. Yeah. So you're screen sharing. So we'll just give the producer a sec to set up the shot, and then I'd love to see your view of this. I've obviously got a lot of the same stuff. I stay pretty consistent with reload zones and ranges and my 12 and 24, 26 EMA. I want to see what you do while I go assess the damage on those stop losses.
Yeah. Rock. All right, so this is where I spend a majority of my waking life, is on the Aggr 1M. And so I've got spot CVD and perp CVD. For those out there who don't know, CVD is cumulative volume delta. It means, let's say we have 100 buy orders and 50 sell orders. At that moment, the volume delta will be 50 because there's 50 more buy orders than sell orders. And if in the next minute there's 200 buy orders and 100 sell orders, we'll add 100 to that 50. So it'll go up by 100. So that's kind of how it works. So we have got our anchor point here, and it just shows you what has happened since that anchor point in terms of the buy orders versus sell orders. And it gives you a good idea of aggression. It's not supposed to follow price, it's supposed to follow aggression. So you might have equal highs where the CVD is higher than it was the last time it visited that high. And that'll show you that they're being a little bit too aggressive to the upside, and maybe a reversion is imminent. And so when I say, okay, spot's leading perps or spot is bidding, that's because the CVD on spot has picked up and the perp CVD is not. And so that's kind of what I spend a lot of my time looking at when I'm scalping. It's like basically understanding where the dislocations are between spot and perp. And also looking out for these, which are big old liquidations. We've got long liquidations here. Pink is short liquidations, and this is volume. Typically, when you see liquidations of this size and the volume candle is just so much higher than all the other ones, that means, okay, we've just had a cleared order book. And so any buy pressure to the upside can kind of cut like a knife through butter. And that's usually a good like scalp long to take. So that's what I look at. One thing I wanted to show you, RT, is the longer term CVD, because I've been looking at that a lot lately. I don't normally, but it's kind of cool. You can see here, once we hit 19.6, boom, spot and perp CVD took off. And spot hadn't really been participating. If you look here, spot's been down only since FTX.
Interesting.
The only time spot got involved was at 19.6. Pretty peculiar. So it looks like they sort of missed out on this rally. It was entirely perp driven. And then they finally decided to get on board here at
And by they, you mean
19.6.
Michael Saylor.
Right. Well, also
The
like
one buyer.
you got to think of like, whales too, because I saw DGen Spartan tweeting about like his longer term plans for the cycle. And he's got like Q1 start buying, finish buying by Q4. And it's like, yeah, a lot of the whales who want to get on board for next cycle are like, to them, this is not an echo bubble. This is a range in which to accumulate, even if it's vertical. So I've been thinking about that a lot lately. You can see here, perps got off board at 27K and they've been down only since. Spot got off board once we got to the top of this range, and they were down only until last night. Last week rather, they started picking back up. Last night was huge in terms of spot CBD. So it's pretty interesting to watch those kinds of indicators and know sort of where the aggression is.
I noticed you have your. Oh man, I got nuked so hard they just signed me out of Bybit.
Did they really?
No, I actually did, man. My slippage on that was disgusting. I must have been one of the last orders in. That was really painful. Yeah, I had my stop loss at 7,999. I got filled at 27,999, and my fill was like 27,748.
Well, I took an L with you, dude. I had a scalp
that's
long.
6x the risk I had intended. That's the first time it's happened in a long time. Actually, Bybit's usually really good about that. Like weird, like massive candles will come, and my slippage was like $1. I'm like, oh, sick. Today it was 155 on a pretty fucking big position. So, excuse me while I sign back in and message support and scream.
I mean, liquidity is just non-existent. Is the bottom.
Yeah, no, that one stings.
Yeah.
Well, I think I gave back about 35% of my profit on the long today, or from the week. So it's kind of the way she goes, right? Have a big win, give some back, and then run.
And then if I can switch here, how do I switch?
I know. Yeah, I was gonna say I noticed your candles are inverted in color. Why do you do that? I think I know, but explain.
Psyops.
Psyops, yeah.
Yeah. Green means you should be buying. So, okay, if it's going down, that's probably a better time to be buying than if it's going up.
Okay.
I like that.
Counter the emotions a little bit too.
Exactly, dude. Although my normal setup for TradingView is just all white candles on a dark background. For the same reason. So this is the only other thing that I check besides TradingView is Hxro charts. Have you ever used this, RT?
No, and I've seen you post about it. I have no idea what it means, but it looks interesting.
So it shows you volume profiles and market profiles. So it's more order flow trader type stuff. And right now I'm looking at Binance hourly. And what I'm looking at is delta. So these red volume bars are just the delta of this price point. So as it goes up and down these price points, it shows you orders. The left side is bids that were filled. Right side is asks that were filled, showing you market buys and sells. And it's great because it illustrates a lot of the same concepts that you'll see in candlestick trading, like, inefficient move, right? We can see that in the delta. There's almost no volume at these levels. So there's very little participation in this candle. It kind of lets you see in the candle.
Yeah.
And then it also shows you imbalances. So these little red tags here are sell imbalances. And when they get stacked up like this, you can expect, like, for instance, let's say we go down and just fill in here, and then we come back up to this level where those stacked imbalances are. I could probably take a nice reaction short, catch $100, $200 move and get out, because I know that these sellers are still going to be interested when we get back to this level. So it shows you those kinds of things.
Nice. That reminds me of like session VPVR, where it just shows
It is.
Like, same thing. Okay.
100% thin move in the VPVR, same concept. It also shows you trapped people, which is great. So if you ever, you see a 1 hour candle close here with all of this volume trapped in the wick, and then we start moving down, you can expect them to puke and accelerate the move. So I'm always looking out for, like, let's say we just reverted back here. and these people became trapped, I would be looking for a continuation long up towards the point of control. So those are the things I look at. I will relinquish the screen sharing. Back to you.
Okay, yeah. Let me set that back up one sec. So that's like a very day trader setup, which I think we've kind of established is your vibe, right?
Yeah.
Circa, what site is this?
That was Hxro charts.
The volume profile?
Yep.
Let me go to
It
Do
rocks.
they
screen
do it?
share.
Do they do it by bracket at all? Like so the original way that I learned how to do market profile, it really had to do with, it was more obviously pointed to futures markets.
And it was times. You're talking about actual market profile, like TPO.
Yes.
Yeah.
Time price. Yep.
You can get that on here too.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
Yeah. And for those watching, the difference between market profile and volume profile is going to show you order volume at a certain price point. Market profile shows you time spent at a certain price point. Two different ways of looking at it.
Yeah. And so the way they did that, which I'm assuming it's the same thing here, is you break it down into brackets. So they did like the 15-minute brackets that kind of were standardized in.
And session brackets as well.
Session brackets. Yep. And then they use like a letter coding for each bracket. Yep.
Yeah. That's getting deep into it. If you know all the market profile letters and what they mean and what it means when two of them appear, like you're in deep.
I don't know if you guys can still hear me, but my Chrome is suddenly not responding, so I may have to reboot my Chrome here. Thanks, Google.
Yeah, good for me.
Okay, so I'm gonna just reboot it because I can't even touch the screen share right now. BRB, you guys keep it going.
Yeah, I'm a huge proponent of these profiles and the bell curve stuff, and it's just especially for price discovery. When you find stuff in a range, you find these levels that are it's such a clearer picture to me than a regular chart is.
Yeah, they call it seeing inside the candles, right?
Ah,
yeah,
got it.
So, Jew.bacca, what are the shit coins that I should be buying once we get back down to 26.2K?
Yeah, so I've already showed you Poison. I really like that synthetics play on Arbitrum. Still pretty knee deep in Arbitrum shitcoin specifically. I mean, our Arb is still generating, I think, 50% of the volume that Ethereum is. So
Jesus.
Yeah, it's insane. And I thought that money would just leave the eco after the airdrop, but I think the team smartly enough provided enough incentives for projects to get Arb rewards. So,
and any stats on how much of the airdrop was actually sold?
How much has been claimed, or how much has been sold?
Well, I guess claimed and sold, and or.
Yeah, I mean, I think claimed we're up to like 85-90%. I have to recheck, but sold, I'm not sure. Good thing to look into.
That'd be tough to track, but it seems like a lot of it was sold because we stopped at like what was it, 40% claimed. We stopped at 1.1. We went up to 1.4, and then we went back below that. So you would.
Where's it trading now?
It's trading right now
1.3 probably. I haven't checked since the nuke.
Yeah.
I still have my Uniswap airdrop. I never sold it.
Yeah, we're good.
I like that Uniswap. I think it's got long-term viability. They'll do something with it eventually.
Gunny, can you not hear RT?
No.
RT, can you not hear Gunny?
Oh no.
We're a fucking disaster right now.
Chaos, Elmo chaos meme.
Circa, something else to focus on is just new launches on Camelot. I think, and that's why I'm kind of bullish on Grail in general as well. I know a lot of people that have just bought and locked up Grail just to get early access to these launches, and it's just kind of an ETF play on the entire Arbitrum ecosystem. So I still think Grail is going to gonna pop pretty hard in the next 3-ish 4 weeks.
I just feel weird buying. I feel weird doing shitcoining up here, this far away from the halving, at 29K on Bitcoin, up against major resistance. It's just so hard for me. Like if it were literally April of next year, I'd be like everything in, you know?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, like the risk reward is not great for someone defensively positioned right now, which I think it makes sense to be defensively positioned. There's a great copy pasta that I'm gonna find about defensive
That's
positioning.
a very sound and reasonable high time frame take from a guy who trades low time frames. I appreciate that.
Well, like my low time
like
frame
suddenly
trading,
you're looking at the yearly chart.
It's informed by high time frame context always, and vice versa, right? Like you want your high time frame execution to be informed by low time frame information.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I don't know. I just like once cycle is on and it's up only, it's like, all right, you're safe. Like go bid.
Yeah.
And right now I'm just like, what if we end up filling in the upper quadrant of the range until April of next year and then blast off? It's like things are going to go nuts and I'm going to miss out on that by being so defensive. So it's a tough spot.
Yeah. I mean, Circa remains defensively positioned. Strong price action despite bad news is notable, but does not provide a solution to the many headwinds that still exist.
Yeah.
Of course, he might be wrong and the market might go up anyways, but he's prepared to miss out on some upside in order,
I remain bearish and fully out of the market. New lows are inevitable.
I am now defensively positioned by force. The market has put me on defense. I had a stop loss on my spot holdings, which I had mostly consolidated into Bitcoin over the last week. That was actually how I coped with my range low long. I was like sitting there like, oh, this is definitely going to puke. I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a lot of my spot holdings and I'm just going to consolidate them into Bitcoin. And I'm going to have that stop at the range lows as well. And, and if I'm wrong or whatever, like it's all good because Bitcoin's going to go up and I'm long as balls. So that was kind of like me getting into that defensive position at range lows because I had all that long exposure through that perp long. But now I had moved up my stops, and as we know now, they've been obliterated today. So we'll see. I'll tell you what looks good. Maybe one of the best high liquidity coins in the market, and that is XRP. Late in the move. I know, dude. Late in the move for now.
Gonna win.
Late in the move for right now, obviously. But if it confirms, it's already really confirmed like a couple of weekly Ws, which, as you guys know, is the holy grail of finding things that suddenly look investable after long downtrends. There's just like, technically there was a weekly W here, but there wasn't much consolidation before that. It was just a strong downtrend, and these fake outs can happen. And this was like that March 2022 that basically did that across the market. So they're not airtight. They're certainly not perfect. But that's also why, even in the realm of a weekly W, I like the idea of like hunting the reload zone. Oh God, my mouse is messed up. Following that weekly W, and that way at least you're risking like pretty tight to invalidation. Recently, what's up?
No, I was just trying to get my camera to focus.
Oh, okay. I thought you were like, I saw you waving. I was just like, shit, am I not on mic? No. Anyways, but now we've come down really hard. This is a weekly chart. So, I mean, we're looking at like May 2022 here, breakout into that reload zone, another nice W into a reload zone of that, like, and now just like firing off with high volume for 4 weeks now. So quietly for 4 weeks. It's only been loud for the last 2 weeks. So yeah, I mean, not really a buy here for me, obviously, but any kind of like dip and quiet from XRP over the next couple of weeks to me would be an area that I'm paying attention to from purely ATA perspective.
I think XLM looks really similar too.
And yeah, and then XLM, as you guys know, the sister coin, forever kind of burned in people's minds as like the thing that should rally if XRP rallies and vice versa. These two like to move together. And so you've actually got a much cuter and quieter little weekly W here that is only just maybe going to confirm this week. It hasn't closed yet, but it looks like it will, depending what Bitcoin does here, of course. Although, if I was an altcoiner I am, I guess, at heart. I'm not in a whole bunch of them right now, but I think you don't really want to see Bitcoin like plow like way higher here. The best thing for you if you're sitting on like Ethereum and some other coins is to see strength in Bitcoin, but then like patience. So it's like, hey, I'm really strong, big weekly breakout. Like I'm just going to chill here in this range. And this is where you can see some real spice in altcoins. But I think the backdrop of all that kind of talk should be really going back to what you said, Circa, which is that it's not 2024, it's not 2025. It's not a bull market year in the 4-year cycle that has always been really the roadmap for Bitcoin. So it kind of is until it's not. And this is the washing machine cycle year, which is marked by like insane volatility and take it all back, and then insane volatility and take it all back. And so coming without a plan is gonna be problematic for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, I just know I'm seeing like all of these tweets, people just ready to rotate their profits into alts, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I don't mind being early, but I hate being late. I forget who said
Yeah.
that today, but I saw that one, just kind of this idea of like, and I always get uncomfortable when you just picture like the public, so to speak, the crowd of people who maybe just don't know too much about the market, and they're all just sitting there like buckled up in their rocket ship, like I'm ready. And like when they're all sitting there collectively ready together, I get uncomfortable. And that seems like the vibe as well for me. Now there's one coin that I'm excited about. It's lit. It's not this lit though, although that chart looks decent too. The liquidity, the liquidity is a little too low. But you guys know I've been excited about liquidity incentive token. Been watching it. I think it's been pretty patient. It's kind of, you can farm it. So there's going to be redemptions from OLIT, which people use ETH to basically buy their rewards at a discount. So kind of reduces farm and dumping. So this is actually kind of the price action I'd expect to see from a coin with that dynamic. This trendline breakout, which Circa loves, trendline maxi. This trendline breakout served us really well. And now we've just been kind of wedging out here, or whatever you're going to call this particular shape. And it broke out the other day. So I'm already bought a little bit on the breakout because I just had been watching it really closely. I was like, damn, I think it's going to go. But any kind of dips into here, and this one I stay excited about. I'm really trying to limit myself to like a small handful of concentrated bets so that I can be nimble, because like you said, it's just not quite the year to get complacently spread out into like 20 names.
Yeah, I agree.
There's nothing worse than going on chain and having to like, slowly like just nuke a bunch of positions during like an invalidation of some bullish structure where, everything's nuking and you're just kind of like, oh man, I got to go puke things out. Like I hate that. So I'm really just going to avoid that by sticking to a couple of coins. And you may notice this one barely reacted to Bitcoin at all yesterday. Like it broke out as Bitcoin moved up through the range, but like all of that noise last night, this thing barely moved. So it's on chain. It's not on centralized exchanges. The algos don't get after it as much. And a lot of coins are like that. And I actually kind of prefer those ones.
I find the smaller the coin, the less correlation to BTC.
Yeah. That's the idea. And particularly like this, the less access it has to like, does it trade against Bitcoin? Does it trade on a bunch of liquid exchanges, or, is there 50 market makers like arbitraging it at all times? Those are the coins that tend to just move extremely close.
What's your general thought on that? Do you guys prefer, that chart looks ugly.
Yeah. XLM.
Do you prefer to see coins widely distributed across centralized exchanges, or would you prefer they just lived on DEXs, maybe asking for a friend?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely prefer to stay on DEXs these days.
Me too.
Yeah, I think
I don't like that a lot of your volatility comes from news, particularly exchange listings, when you don't already have them. So for predictability's sake, and to be able to trust the chart is not going to get completely messed up by some, news driven catalyst, I prefer them to already be out.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I prefer to invest in coins that really have like no interest in the short term in an exchange listing, like kind of for that reason.
I think part of the issue too, with just in general with exchange listings in just my overall experience is the ability of a centralized exchange to launch a perp against it. And like in my mind, there's probably I really think outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum, those are probably the only two that are liquid enough to reasonably handle a perp derivative like that without running into like major like liquidity vacuum issues, or where the market can be toyed with not a lot of capital by parties with lower moral standards. But I think that my preference is to see this continue to evolve towards the DEX market, and see development happen there, and as opposed to of liquidity in terms in terms of just the overall marketplace versus seeing things happen on sexes, because they're just can be disastrous, and also there's the major level of opaqueness that exists. The fact that like you could have a trading desk loosely associated, or even one that is not associated, that is just like extended massive amounts of credit to work with the perp markets on some exchanges, and then basically somebody can sit and short a coin into oblivion, and it's not a fair thing to have happen.
Speaking of recently launched perps, I think Binance just launched Joe perps, and Joe has just been like crushing it. And I mean, there's no better top signal.
That's too bad. Yeah, I mean, it's not the worst because I don't have any Joe, but it's too bad for those who do. We'll see how that plays out, because right now it looks still okay. But you're right, like on a midterm, that's actually
on the corner.
How's it rallying right now? Let's see.
That was
Caesar's ghost.
Can you put it against USD?
Oh, was that ETH?
No, that was Joe versus AVAX. Like an AVAX.
Oh, that's why. Well, here it is versus USD. Yeah, so it did actually kind of rally in the last hour as Bitcoin was going down. That's interesting. But if you are so here's a thought. Let's just go back real quick. I was just cooking up a thought. So if you want to talk about, where are we high time frame? Really nice breakout last night. Obviously sweeping highs, getting rejected, which was weirdly my base case coming out of that range, and just kind of fucked it up. But if that's the case, and that range sweep turns into like the high for now, and I mean like 24K type Bitcoin, 25K type Bitcoin high for weeks, whatever, then how do we hedge? What is the trade? There's, ETH 4 hour looks terrible right now, in the sense that it's been pretty lazy up here, not really showing any of the same strength as Bitcoin. Obviously, ETH BTC pair at its local lows. It is about to, from the looks of it, in 2 hours, confirm bearish market structure right in this short reload zone. So now going back to Joe, because then the question is like, okay, I want to be short in this market. I want to express that kind of positioning in the market. You got to find coins that haven't already nuked, right? And in this case, it may be the case that Joe perp launch marks the high for this move, which wouldn't be that weird. It's been rallying since March 15th pretty aggressively. Let's see, that's probably, was that 100% move? 219% move. So,
just that?
Yeah, just 200%.
So just 200?
If we are going to roll over, typically not a whole lot will survive. So you're either in the camp of like, hey, Bitcoin's back in range, but showing general strength with the high daily close last night, so we can get into alt season, or you're like, fuck this, I'm out. I want to have some short hedges on. And so you want to look for coins that are like really high up in their ranges, maybe the darling childs of the last few weeks. And then I'm actually going to go back to like XRP, because it's also super liquid and it's been going crazy. And, zooming out to the weekly, it looks extremely strong, but that's a weekly. That's the kind of thing that this might play out over a period of 7 months. And after the sweep of this high, maybe XRP's one where you catch 1 or 2 weeks of nice downside. At least it hasn't, fully nuked yet. And in which case I'd look for something, it's not really like Joe up in that zone, but I think Joe might be the one if they literally just launched perps.
Yeah.
I I wonder if they have on Bybit. I doubt they do. That's too bad. I don't have Binance.
I'm gonna
Yeah, I don't
share a chart with you, RT.
Oh, they do have a Joe perp on Bybit. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. Might short. Not sure yet.
You're gonna counter trade one or two people in this chat right now.
What are they all? Are they all longing on Joe? Been sitting on Joe
Yep.
getting. Oh yeah.
RT, I just sent you a chart.
right,
Check it
let's
out when
see
you get a chance. But I've always heard people talk about like, oh, let's go find the weakest coin of the cycle to short once the short expression becomes imminent. And I always thought that was weird because it's like it doesn't do anything. Why would it go like down massively if it didn't go up massively? And then I got some
Unless
nice
it's Link.
confluence. What?
Unless it's Link.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Link is always good for a short.
Here's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
chart.
for
Here's the chart you just sent me. Chart.
yeah,
I mean.
this is Altghetti. This is all the alts. If you find like let's pick a high time frame nuke for you to anchor this to.
Yeah, it's really messy. It's hard to spot. I
Take
guess
take
March
the
28th, or should we go to a higher time frame?
go to March 22nd, that nuke,
Okay.
and you'll see it. You'll see all of them spike down at the same time, and that's the best place to anchor from on this. And then you can see outperformers just like breaking out from the pack. I'm sure CFX is up there, SNX.
Yeah, what is CFX? We had a guy in the chat on my solo stream on Tuesday, just kind of like, yeah, CFX, and it's been really great.
Conflux. So it's like Chinese. It's like Chinese Ethereum is what people say.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've actually got a shitcoin on my list on CFX called ABC.
Yeah,
And,
ABC,
supposedly ABC
ACH.
controls like 25% of all CFX staked.
Yeah. Yeah. So high time frame, this is where if I'm looking for longs or shorts, I'm going to this Altghetti chart. And it's like, what's leading the pack? That's the one you short because, and I saw Adam from Trading Riot confirm this view is he's like, if you're looking for coins to short, pick the ones that have positioning to puke.
Yes.
Not the ones that have no positioning.
Exactly kind of what I was getting after with like the idea of, oh, everything's nuking. Like, hey, that thing's been pumping for 3 weeks. It's got so many more sellers baked into it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But I love this idea of just having this chart in front of you because it makes searching for it a lot easier and more.
It's also great for bounces if you get a nuke like the one we just got and then you anchor it to it and just look at what's just blasting out. And you can usually it's a safe long if you're at a high time frame level that you feel like is going to at least cool out or reverse for a little bit.
Okay. Well, maybe CFX. I know that's also on Bybit. I've been seeing it ever since dude mentioned it. I noticed it like on the leaderboard for a couple of days. I was like, oh shit, dude was onto something. So to whoever that was, kudos to you because you were all over the chat on Tuesday. And my apologies for not diving into it. I just can't get them all. Can't catch them all. So I didn't actually pull it up that day. But let's do it now in honor of somebody, because he also mentioned it on Twitter the next day in my mentions. I was like, what's going on with CFX? I half thought that he was just a paid shill planted into our chat. Yeah, I mean this one, if you like shorting, and I think we have to be clear because shorting like into range now after this nuke, like low time frames, it's not really my trade.
Shorting CFX is also particularly dangerous. You'll see all the short opportunities get wrecked like on this.
Yeah, this looks like a complacency shoulder. Like at a glance, you're saying, like little wave, kind of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C. And if that's like, because I'm thinking if your thesis is we roll right over on Bitcoin for a period of weeks, April is not the bull we wanted. May is not the bull we wanted. 2023 is exactly what we thought it was, a trap. If that's your position, then you want to find a coin like this. This actually just reminds me of ETH at like 4,200, and I didn't short it. I was looking at it like, damn, this would be a great place to short ETH if I think there's a bear market coming. Yeah. I did not, but it did this exact same thing. And let's see, then we can like kind of figure out if there's any other signals of weakness around those highs. I mean, look at this thing. This is the short for me, this kind of thing. We've got divergences, we've got weakness at the highs, we've got, one of the biggest markers for me when you see a really strong move in the market is like if the last peak came in on the highest volume, it's rarely the top. But as you can see here, the highest volume is all the way back here. We had a slightly weaker high came in. And then up here, significant fall off in volume. The bears wake up with the highest volume in this whole peak being sell volume. So just at a tertiary glance, I'd say that this one certainly would serve purposes if I wanted to, like, you know, have some kind of rollover thesis in the market in general for the midterm, which I don't think dropping back into range here is enough for me to want to abandon my like higher time frame weekly thing, but I'm not going to like cling to it too heavily. I could also, the cool thing is when you do your strategy that you just talked about from the googly chart,
Altghetti.
Altghetti. When you use a strategy like this and you're finding those coins that have already been on really strong moves for quite a while, this thing could roll over even if Bitcoin chills in a range or if Ethereum gets some juice. Like this thing could be cooked no matter what happens in the broader market.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the nice thing about finding these outliers. Like XRP, for example, has been outperforming for a week or two now. It could cool down and drop even if we just range here on everything else.
INJ is up 4.24% from that nuke we just had.
Oh my goodness. So that's where you would, what would you do with that?
I would wait for like, I would throw on some low time frame MAs and pick a place to long, but not now because I think BTC is going to 26. I don't think it's actually going to stop here.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's take a look at Bitcoin just within range. I mean, it absolutely makes sense, and it's unfortunate because in retrospect it made sense this morning to get the fuck out. But here I was trying one last time. EQ seems like the logical place. This range has been getting a ton of respect, and we just broke out of it, did all the things you'd expect, sweeping all the highs, taking all the liquidity, dropped back inside. So range EQ would be an automatic like tag. Not to suggest like shorting it from here to here is good risk reward, but and you're saying 26, which is like all the way down here. What do you see?
I mean,
there?
26 to any number that starts with 26, not 26 proper.
Okay. So 26.5 was really the range lows.
Although that's the same deviation we just got on the upside to the downside. So it wouldn't be crazy for it to go there.
Yeah, you're saying something like there's your deviation, here's your deviation, and then you'd maybe see something like that.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. The thing with deviations that drives me nuts is like, okay, so we puked out the range lows. How am I longing this? Where am I longing it against? You know, like it was hard enough for me to do this one. A proper like breakdown and lose of the lows, like loss of lows. I get so uncomfortable. I'm like, where's my risk window? It just gets disgusting down there.
Last week, I told you I'm not shorting the same level again. I'm waiting for higher. And that played out this week is like, once you get a deviation, it's best to set that as your expectation to deviate from. And once you close back inside, that's a safe trade. So like, you know.
Okay. So letting it do what its thing is, waiting for the reentry.
Yeah. So like if it's going to deviate again, it's going to do it above the previous deviation. So like, for instance, we deviated above this range to like 28.7 and then 28.9. And it's like, I'm not going to short 28.9 blind. I'm going to wait for higher now. I'm not going to use the same level again.
Yeah. Like if we come back out of here, you're like, I'm not
shorting 29, whatever blind.
And that logic worked in your favor here and here, obviously being the sweeps. And I told you, remember you were in the pit last night. You were like, dude, like, here's your chance. Are you going to take a hedge? And I said, not yet. Like, I need to see, because these hadn't been swept yet.
Yeah.
And I did jump in 1 minute too early, got swept out, and then did it again, but I didn't like the entry and I chicken shitted out of it.
That logic is great because it also prevents you from being one of those traders that when you do get the breakout move from like 29 to 36, that you haven't shorted it 7 times on the way between 29 and 36.
Yeah. Deviations are exactly that, right? They give you the good risk of like, we're back inside a range now, so I'm clear to take it to the other side of the range rather than like hoping you got the level.
Yeah, and the one thing I wouldn't say regret is the right word because it was a great trade and I just need to chill and enjoy it. But like, there was so many setups along the way up here. Like my normal setup would be to let all this happen and then try to snipe the higher low. There was then even a little higher low within this. Like there was so many little longs that came in where you're getting pretty sweet risk reward. And then this little flip here was so sexy too. That actually happened like overnight. It was like 1 a.m. But again, just such clean price action where if you're sitting not in a position, the market really handed you like a handful of moments to get long through that. And then it just took it straight to range highs. Like it was just such beautiful price action as far as like being a technical trader goes. Having said that, I was just already in the long and I was kind of like, I don't have an appetite to like re-long or add more risk or do any of that. I'd clearly prefer to do that on the way back into the range.
Yeah.
So that's what I did today. But yeah, we're going to sit here and let this range play out. I'm very curious. Obviously today is the volatility when it finds a floor and starts doing something more like this, more like this, more like this. Like once it chills out a little bit today, I want to watch ETH BTC. I want to watch XRP BTC. Like I want to watch those like higher volume Bitcoin pairs and see how they start to react. I think I'm with you. I'm not sitting here like, it's going to be alt season. But it could be. And there's going to be some information on the charts as Bitcoin settles into whatever it settles into here.
We're getting to a place where no alt season is max pain. And I've been thinking in my head, like, what's the historical precedent for no alt season after a BTC mini rally? You know, like, is that a thing? Or are we promised an alt season? Like, how does that work? Because the more I see people calling for it, while ETH continues to underperform, and alts just kind of don't do much, it makes me wonder, like, is it possible for us to not get an alt season?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just not going to bet against like the greed.
I mean, I'm more and more in the camp of like alt season is a dying breed in the sense of like 2017, it was like literally everything goes up. And now we're seeing a lot more like hot ball of money seasons. And so alts are as a whole doing whatever the fuck they want. Like the market matures, we get less of this all or nothing. And then you see AI take off, and then you see Arbitrum have its own moment. And like there's just this horizontal dilution that is going to continue to happen. And then there's only so much liquidity. And maybe it's 2024, late 2025, where you see just like, well, everything make a moon, and that's typical of the end of cycle. But for now, especially in a year like this, I think it's like a lot more sector specific, and we're going to just keep seeing that. And so then becoming like the detective of like what's hot. Like who knew that Chat GPT launching itself outside of crypto was going to be enough to just trigger the imaginations of like, you know, traders in this market to then be like, oh, AI is hot. Like, this is a really interesting kind of dynamic, seeing that outside factor get
RT, can you pull that chart out again? Like
so heavily.
Like
which one?
What you have up? Just I want to see the larger, like further back.
Oh yeah, the higher time frame.
Yeah.
You know, sweep, like creating this range and then sweeping the low and blasting to the high was so bullish.
I mean, this looks bullish.
Sweeping all of that liquidity at the highs and then nuking back to the low looks so bearish. And that's what's going to be driving people insane in these sideways moves. But I'm with you, Gunny. I look at this and I just think, hey, we're riding the EMAs. We're making a bunch of noise.
I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it retest a little lower. Like, I mean, we're going a longer time frame here. So like,
yeah, one thing that's concerning, and actually as I was about to say this, I just thought of why, is this fall off on volume. But I heard what happened recently is Binance was offering free, like no fee trading on their BTC USDT pair, and they just switched it.
For disclosure purposes, it's not free. It's
free is a strong word.
They're eating you up in the bid ask spread is what they're doing. So
okay, so they mess with the bid ask spread to make their money back, but like they offer it as like a marketing gimmick. So maybe like what's the next best, like, you know, true volume? I mean, we could go to like an aggregator, but because I just noticed that because they've turned off that feeless trading, that's why this volume is going to just look like shit forever on the Binance chart.
I might be able to see vol on Hxro charts and pick a different exchange.
Like Qcoin to me is not the one. Coinbase is another one. I know. Old Rob Levy likes to look at Coinbase chart volume. So bottom line is the volume's
there too. I mean, I think
it's anemic. Yeah, like that's
volume's
kind of
up on Bybit. the volume is highest in this last rally on Bybit.
Like
from
this,
19.6.
what we'll call the Sailor Rally. I like to call this the Michael Sailor Rally. But yeah, look, this looked great. Sweep and go. This looks terrible. Sweep and dump. I mean, we're still in the range. Nothing objectively has changed, but a breakdown from here looks pretty awful, and a breakout from here looks outstanding. That's
in terms of our,
it just is what it is.
The charts that we love, the Gartner cycle charts, like on this daily, it's still like I could certainly see some pullback, and I'm eternally bullish Bitcoin and crypto in general. So like I welcome pullbacks, because they are opportunities, but like especially in this type of setup, like off of that green candle as a post, like I can see it flagging over the next few days and maybe the next couple weeks, and let it settle in and build some value. And
that's the thing,
set up
right?
Very nicely. Like it could be invalidated, also, but for right now, that looks bullish.
It does. That's kind of my base case, and that's probably why I get too long too early on lower time frames, is because my base case obviously is got to ride with the weekly. We had a 9-month accumulation range. We had all the bad news in the world you can imagine, and everyone says, "Oh, there's still some more bad news potentially." I'm like, there always will be. You gotta have to pick your floor. You have to say, like, was FTX imploding? Was like the largest fraud since Bernie Madoff? Like, if that's not black swan enough for you, then I don't know what you're waiting for. So
still here.
All of that happens, and then you break out of that range very clean, like equal highs here, and then hold that weekly. And now it's just, and this is what I was saying last week, like we're probably just going to get a doji to drive everyone nuts. I was kind of hoping that we weren't going to get a second one, but we're going to get as many as the goddamn market wants to give us. But I would be shocked if we fill in this inefficiency before moving higher. I think that's my base case here. Yeah, I think that could be the end. Like we talked about, the COVID crash was really just like a Wyckoff check on this kind of breakout in 2019, where we did one of these, and then we did one of these, and then we just bing, and then we went. Yeah, I think it's more like that being the retest of this level somewhere down the line after, squeezing out a few more bears.
We were saying that I think on one of our other streams a few weeks ago, that like, because I remember that kind of ape/alt season.
Yeah,
it really started in 2020. Like the first move, I was telling a story. Like I remember me and Messi getting into Dune, and it was like we did pretty. I mean, it was maybe like a 4 or 5x, which I'm more than happy with, and and then it like retraced all the way back down, and we went through this kind of long cycle into like the fall. That was maybe like in August 2020, and then like had a few months of just kind of rebasing out and then building, and then 2021 went berserk, right?
Yeah, 2019 was a major alt season.
Yeah, but maybe that was it. 2019, not 2020. Yeah,
and it was Bitcoin having a bear market rally that gave it that. So maybe that's confluence for us getting an alt season this time. Are you guys familiar with Ru Kang? It's like one of the top GMX traders.
Oh yeah,
Andrew Kang.
PSYOPs are just like
yeah. So he flipped bearish after this, like after last night, and
did he though?
I'm sure his
like
short positions.
Did you
will
check
come
the
out.
chain?
Yeah. I
check
checked the Twitter chain. He said, what did he say? He said, and he's been posting bullish shit all week, but now he's talking about Mt. Gox dumps coming in early April. He's talking about
Shanghai, probably.
maybe he deleted this tweet, but he just tweeted something about like a bunch of bearish reasons. But this tweet he had, I thought was really interesting because it comports with what I've been seeing. He said historical meta, blow off tops into Burj Khalifa, where it just goes up and down, and then that's it. New meta, rounded tops, followed by complex pullback, and then new highs. And that's what 2021 was. We had a rounded top, and everyone was like, this isn't it because
we didn't get our blow off top. Yeah, I remember that. I always thought that was kind of silly because you just, it doesn't need to be the same every time.
But it was a rounded top into a complex pullback, and then sort of not really the blow off tops we're used to in crypto. And so yeah, I kind of identify with that view, and I think that it's what we're seeing. What we saw at 25 is what we're seeing right here. Rounded top, we get our complex pullback, and then we launch.
Can you explain complex pullback to me? I thought you guys were trolling when you're talking about that in the pit the other day.
From what I
Just
understand,
heads up, guys. I got to bounce in like a minute. So
Okay.
no
Yeah, we
worries.
should.
Yeah.
So do
I should
I,
probably
actually.
go outside today and touch some grass. But let's give it a hot 5. But obviously, peace out anytime you need to.
It's from what I understand, complex pullbacks just means like you didn't get a pullback into a V reversal. Like you're gonna spend some time building out some structure, lower.
Like this.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of which, I will never forget this candle. Gunny, do you remember this one? That was the FTX party in Miami.
Wait, which one am I? Hold on, sorry.
Their last party.
I was looking at
Busted. No.
oh yeah.
This one here. We were at this party FTX was throwing in Miami, and like my sister was in town. Like there was just so many people there. I was with Rob Levy was there. We had the whole squad, and everyone was having a great time. There was no reception, and then Melker was there, and he stands up in the crowd and he holds his phone up. He's like, "What do you yell?" He's like, "Bitcoin's at 42K." And like everyone was like, not everyone, most of the people were just partying, not noticing, but like a lot of people were just like, "Oh, what the fuck?" Like I was over in the bathroom area where all like the porta potties and shit, and like there was just dudes out there on their phone, just like close. Like it was chaos. And there was this really sad moment out in the street afterwards. There was this guy like crouched down with his backpack,
with his laptop, right?
His laptop.
Yeah.
And
That's a legendary picture, dude.
Yeah. And I saw that. I walked past him and he was sitting there like just crushed. I think he got completely liquidated on that. And it was pretty messed up. But at the FTX party, it was just a crazy candle. And now we know why. They said, bring all the big traders into this party. We'll cut the reception and we'll just pull the rug.
Yeah.
And Alameda still found a way to lose money. Anyways,
we got that arc and sweep, by the way, RT. I forgot to mention that. The thing I've been playing on low time frames, we got it on the daily. The
4-hour daily. Yep.
Yeah.
I know. Dude, if we really, really roll over here, I'm gonna be pretty sick about misdoing my little hedge last night because I wasn't set up in the battle station. I like I said, I popped in late just to check in and shut down the computer, and I saw it all happening, and I was just like, oh, and then I ended up not in it the way that I should have been, and I was watching for it. I was watching for it like all that day, and I was like, when this goes off and they sweep everything, I'm getting short hedge, and I'm not in it right now, so I'm uncomfortable. But I'm actually back for final thoughts. I'm back in a heavy cash position. My spot BTC, I decided I was just going to also let that go if we lost that low. I lost it. So we'll see how this range plays out. I'm going to just be patient. I tend to run in too quickly. And then I'm going to just, we'll figure out how best to redeploy. So I've still got a little ETH, little Bitcoin, bunch of lit, and then the rest, probably 40, 60% cash. So we'll see how that goes.
I got a bunch of digital freedom energy, which is Bitcoin short contracts. So let's go.
There you go. Those
Nice.
must feel great right now. Nice flex.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I'm gonna stay that my base case remains bullish with Gunny here on the weekly. Just a bunch of dojis driving people nuts, making you lose money. And then the next major move though from here, I still feel even 70-30 strong about it being upside, probably a little higher, 75. But whatever that means. It's like the weatherman. You can say 90% chance of showers, and if it doesn't rain, they weren't wrong because they said there was a 10% chance it wouldn't.
Join my pay group.
Let's flip back to the main set here, and we'll say goodbye. Although I guess with Jew.bacca gone, we've got the question mark, the classic Wirecast question mark. Gunny, dude, really cool to have you on today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I'm taking a couple days to recharge the batteries right now, but not bad to stay dialed in.
What better way to do that than to come hang out with us and shitpost for a little bit? So thank you.
Exactly. I appreciate it.
And for anyone wondering, this is not the death of Deltafy. Deltafy, somebody asked about it today. They said, when are you going to do Deltafy again? It's just kind of a mishmash. I think the pit being Thursdays is a nice, consistent thing we can do. And then when Gunny, Rob, and myself and all that can get going all in one day, we will we will relaunch or have another episode of that.
Yeah.
So
I will say, absolutely huge Q2 coming up for Hxro.
yeah, let's hint at that. I mean, there's just, you've been talking about it on thing. Anatoly was giving us some love on Twitter. Lots of things buzzing on Hxro Network. DApps coming up, launches, and me excited. I'll just say that.
Good. Yep.
As one of your largest holders, no, I don't think I'm your largest, but as it's my biggest bag. So as a holder, trader, investor, I'm very excited.
Oh yeah.
All right, guys, let's wrap it up. Whatever you do from now until next time, don't long the loss of the range highs.